Welcome to Handy Tutorials. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make these delicious homemade egg noodles from scratch. It's surprisingly easy and takes only a few simple ingredients. Enjoy! This is a super easy recipe. You're going to need 2 cups of flour, some sea salt, 4 eggs, just a little bit of water, like 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup, a couple measuring things, and then you're going to need a bowl or a flour sack towel, and then a rolling pin if you don't have a roller attachment, and some wax paper, parchment paper. And anyway, it's a super easy recipe. It's the kind of recipe you can do even with your kids around. So you can do this recipe either using your KitchenAid or using a Bosch mixer. I'm going to be doing it with a Bosch today. So first you're going to add 2 cups of flour. If you're using a KitchenAid, you're just using your dough hook. Alright. And then 2 teaspoons of sea salt. Alright, and we're just gonna mix that up a little bit. Okay, next you can add 1 full egg in. Let's see, I'm gonna pick my bigger one. These are farm fresh eggs from our chickens out back. So you'll see the yolks are really nice and gold. If you want to have egg noodles that are nice and yellow, try and get your hands on some farm fresh eggs. Some people add food coloring. Alright, and you're going to crack the other 3 eggs just into this little bowl here. Okay, and then you're just going to scoop out the yolks. And add those in. Set that aside. Alright, we're just going to start mixing it up a little bit. Turning it on to level 1, and we're just going to let it mix for a bit. And then we're just going to slowly add some of this water. We've got a 1/2 cup here. We're going to start with adding about half of that. Mixing it for about 5 more minutes. You don't want it to be too dry, and so you'll just add additional water if it needs a little bit more. 5 minutes, it should form this nice little ball of dough. If it's too sticky, you might want to, or wet, you might want to add a little bit of flour and keep mixing it. If it's too dry or brittle, then you're going to want to add additional water. So once it's here, we'll just kind of put that off to the side. We're going to just add a little drizzle of flour here. And we're going to take our dough out. So that dough looks really, really nice. And we're just going to add it, just kind of set it there. And we're going to let it rest for a little while. You can either put a flour sack towel on top, or you can add a bowl. You're going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. After it's rested, you're going to take that off and you're going to split it into smaller pieces. Pinch. So either 2 pieces or 4 pieces. I'm going to split it into 4. And then you'll just set it back here underneath the bowl again and let it rest for another 5 to 10 minutes. So after that's rested for a while, you're gonna set them aside and you'll roll out one of the balls. Spread that out. Make sure that your surface has a good amount of flour. Now if you have something to roll your noodles out, you can use that, but I'm just going to do this with a rolling pin because I think most people definitely have this on hand. So by letting it rest, it makes it a little bit easier to roll it out. And we want to roll it out nice and thin, not too thin, but somewhere between 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. We're just going to keep rolling it. And what's nice about this is something that it's totally okay to hand roll because the, you know, these homemade egg noodles, they're supposed to kind of be, they don't have to be perfect. They can be chunky, they can be a little bit uneven, and it's totally okay. So if you're hand rolling this, you know, try to make it a fairly uniform shape, but at the same time, you don't have to be paranoid about it being perfect because that's kind of just part of the noodle. All right, so that looks pretty good. So now I like to use a pizza cutter. And now it's time to slice the noodles. So you can slice them any width you like. I like them nice and chunky. And you're just gonna slice it. This pizza cutter, it's super easy. You can also use a knife. You can use, you could let your kids cut out shapes and make it kind of fun, you know, some cookie cutters or something, but it's what I find the easiest. And again, you don't have to worry about it being absolutely perfect. It's okay for them to be, you know, slightly different sizes and that kind of thing. So this one I'm gonna just slice there. All right, the rest of these, I'm just gonna make them about, take these ones aside, slice that there, and slice that there. Okay, so after you've done that, you're gonna repeat the process for your other noodles. and then you'll just lift them up and you'll add them onto your cookie sheet. And this is something that's nice. You can just make it, you know, the night before you're going to use them, or the morning that you're going to use them, and then they can just kind of sit out and dry. Or you can make it fresh and add it right in. I personally like to let it sit at least for a little while. So yeah, so that's how you make these nice little egg noodles. So now you just repeat the process for these other balls of dough, and you'll end up with a good amount of noodles. So the first time you make it, I mean, you're welcome to do them all, you know, uniform size and shape. I recommend, you know, trying it out. Roll out some of them a little bit thicker, some of them a little bit thinner. Cut some longer, cut some shorter, and then you'll be able to figure out, you know, for your specific recipe, what you would like to do. So after they're all done, you can either cook them immediately, or you can actually let them just sit out and they can dry during the day. They're fine to be left out on the counter during the day until you use them. So you just add the noodles to boiling water, and once they start floating like this, they're usually done or close to being done. So you can just cook them to your taste and then add them into any soup or any other recipe that you want to add them to. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear how the recipe turns out for you. Please feel free to share any changes you make to the recipe or other recommendations for those who are trying this recipe for the first time.